So good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of Planning and Highways Committee, this evening being Tuesday the 5th of May 2026. And this meeting is being recorded for publication on the Thatcham Town Council YouTube channel. So turning to the agenda, I guess it's Deputy Clerk today, so apologies for absence, please.
We have apologies from Councillors Justin Kenton and Tom McCann.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest on the items on the agenda? I see no one seeking to speak, so we'll see none. So, agenda item 3.1 to take as read and confirm as accurate the minutes of the meeting held on the 7th of April, which you have in front of you and have been circulated. And you have to have a draft debate taken on. Any comments on that? No. So can I propose that we take as read and confirm as accurate those minutes? Seconder for that. Thank you, Councillor Watts. Yeah. A note in favour of so approving. Thank you. Is that unanimous? Okay, so that is then gone. So yeah, we'll need to. I guess I'll need to. I'll sign them. We can sign them again when we've got a one with that draft on. I've always been tempted to create a custom one which says put off and see if anyone sees that there's no R in it. Anyway.
Okay.
So moving on, 3.2. Are there any matters arising from the previous meeting that are not on the agenda? Thank you. None to discuss. So moving on to planning applications. So we have 3 before us. The first one is ploughing chapter 4 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So what's this one? It's so the description doesn't say what's different.
So it's the retention of the listed building and a single-storey roof extension with living accommodation in the loft to provide 5 residential units, restoration and enhancement to the listed building, car parking, cycle storage, bin storage, ASHPs, amenity space, hard and soft landscaping and other ancillary works.
Just wondering how that differs from the previous one. That's five.
Is it isn't it?
But no, this is the 5 is the 5 residential units is the splitting up of the pub, I think.
Okay.
So this is the pub, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not that one.
Lovely. Okay. First look, it looks like it's a roof, but it's actually the layer of the site. Okay. Oh, that is the work out what that is. I think that is actually the flats. Hang on.
That is the flat.
Yeah, it's the 5. So F1, F2, F3, F4, and 5 being the flat
1, flat 2.
Yeah, okay. It's not clear how they're subdivided anyway. Those are the doors for them. I don't know if they're showing the doors, the entrances to them, isn't it?
And then this would be the ground floor, sort of show.
Right.
So we have bedroom 1, bedroom 2, and the kitchen, dining room, the living room.
Yeah.
So that's 2.
That's 2 of the flats.
Yeah.
Will they be retaining the herbal garden?
Where is it on? It's all locked out.
No, I don't think so.
Yes.
Which
So what have you got? Which one have you got?
this
open at the
is
moment?
proposed site plan, and I did look through them all.
I was going to say, given that this is an internal, it's changing the internal structure. the document I've been most interested in is what the conservation officer says, because if I remember rightly, there was a chimney breast, historic chimney breast, and we didn't sort of see that.
I'm looking one thing there.
Let's go down and see what it's proposals. Okay, so they're actually proposing to extend the ground, extend the building, which was not the case for the previous application.
Oops.
And to see what it says at the bottom, what the conclusion is.
I recommend.
That's true.
Okay. Okay, so the conservation officer recommends approval with small conditions to do with recording of detail. So, and there is this point about the external. My memory is correct. The previous application did not propose to extend the building, the pub building. Obviously, it was going to add the new flats. My recollection of the external is it's not particularly the external appearance of the building is not particularly historic.
Isn't there going to be two houses?
So that's a separate thing. There's two houses or three.
In like the garden.
That's at the bottom. Yeah, going towards Kenneth School on the
Yeah.
road. Yeah, that's a bit separate. I know that this is only listed building. We're looking at listed building consent here, so this won't have that. But looking at this this part of it, the listed building consent for the pub, the conservation officer is recommending approval.
So is this going to be a house of multiple occupancy?
It's flats because they're self-contained.
Right.
So they all have their own kitchen and bathroom. So they're not. It's not legally it's HMO. It's
So like a studio.
Yeah, studio.
Two with 3-bedroom flats.
Yeah.
So it's not studio.
Yeah, because they're extended. So could we then
Is this living accommodation in the loft to provide 5 residential units?
yeah, so they're obviously going up a second floor, which wasn't.
I think it's the ground floor 2 flat, second floor with 2 flats, and then the roof has a flat, I think.
Yeah. Maybe so that's the listed building. So can we go back to the planning application, because that will have the see if they've managed to shoehorn yet more houses into the bottom of the garden.
This is weird. Which there's a lot on here. The application form on the second.
Ignore the application form. It never tells you anything useful. I would go for the that's just the building consent. Okay, so I would go for the proposed site plan. I've got 4 site plans. Okay, try proposed site plan 1. We'll see what that says.
I think that's
The one
we've
5 entrances.
That was a
yeah.
Okay. Okay, site plan 1. Okay, try site plan 2 then.
So many documents on
So
there.
many.
No, that's not something. There's Pennick Park. There's 400 and something. 443 when that looks. All right. So we have block 1, which has 5 flats and 5 parking spaces, by the looks of it. Block 2, which has 2 parking spaces to the left. Could you go to plan 3, which is presumably further plan? Try plan 4.
Is it proposed site plan? There's one that hasn't got a number.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Your laptop dies because you've got too many open.
Okay.
Right.
So, we have 6 parking spaces for the 5 flats and 4 parking spaces for block 2. Do we know how many there are in block 2?
That's the houses. I
Yeah,
think.
I'm just wondering how many, but it was houses last time we looked, it might have morphed into something else.
It's house D
Yeah.
and E, so
Okay.
they are 2 houses.
Okay. So we have a total of 10 parking spaces, but spread between 7 flats. And we have almost no outdoor space.
I'm certainly not going to try and move in there.
So let's see, that rear garden is 20 square metres.
Oh, so gone.
Where's that?
Well, it says at the bottom, house D, rear garden area, 20.1 square metres. And house E has 16.5 square metres.
Right.
Oh, it's a communal.
And this is communal gardens here for the flat.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Right. So, looking at your faces, I don't see a sort of enthusiasm for the development.
The problem with the additional parking, isn't it?
What were they going for originally? Was it 3 or 4 flats?
I think it was at the very first. I think it was 3, and it went to 4, and now they've extended.
Worse.
They're extending the previous applications were within the existing building, but they're now extending the back of the building, which of course shrinks the gardens and increases the flat number of flats by 1 because you've now got a 5th one in the loft.
But to have more than 1 car per dwelling, there isn't anywhere else there to park. We're on the A4 or
Yeah.
down Plough Lane, which is
Yeah.
it's all houses. It's quite a congested area.
Yeah.
And they're parking out on the road.
Oh, yeah.
But that road already has cars parked all
Yeah.
down it.
Yeah. So,
No.
do we feel strongly enough to object to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's too many.
Go.
Yeah.
We say no, and then they think it's bigger, and we think we're going to
So-
say yes.
Have a proposal to object. Do have a seconder for an objection. Proposer. And the seconder. Thank you. So we have. We need now to work out
What we're gonna
specifically what we're objecting to. So I think it's overdevelopment
Yes.
site and insufficient parking places.
Yes.
Because there is absolutely no space particularly for visitors.
Yeah.
So if it's those 2 factors, so the proposal is we object on those 2 grounds. The proposer and seconder, if you still agree to those. So those in favour of objecting. Thank you. And then against objecting, okay. Thank you. So we have that's approved by a majority. Thank you. Second one, we have the play area at disputed, but for planning purposes, Foxglove Way.
So you should all have
Yeah.
the document here,
Yeah.
which has all the information and plans and
It's
things.
got some page there,
Yeah.
let's you know that.
So
What?
so for the benefit of people watching, this is an application for it says relocation of children's playground and erection of a single-storey hydrotherapy and gym facility adjacent to Frank Hutchins Community Hall. So I guess that means that the council has an interest in it collectively, but I think not the individual councillors. And I take it that this application has been brought forward with the consent of the relevant committee of the town council. So,
Well, they won't have anywhere for the hydrotherapy if they don't.
so yeah,
So it's the West Berkshire Therapy Centre who currently have hall number 2 in Frank Hutchins Hall, which has powered equipment for anyone to use for rehabilitation, and they would like to be able to provide a hydrotherapy pool for local residents, but we believe people will probably come far and wide. There isn't anything like it in this area for hydrotherapy. So they would effectively move their gym and their pool to a similar size building as Frank Hutchins Hall directly behind. And the play park that is currently there would move to the other side of the park.
right. Any comments or concerns, noting that it's already been approved by, I guess that is, which is
Yeah, I think-
anyway, whichever committee it is.
Yeah, the concept has been approved.
Yeah.
They're just starting to fundraise.
Yeah.
Now.
So,
As a comment, I support it in principle, absolutely.
Yeah.
My comment is, I think the new building is too close to Frank Hutchins Hall. And if they just widen the gap a bit, I'm looking at this.
I think.
yeah,
So just a comment that if they moved it a couple of metres further to the north.
yeah, if I look at the 2 plans, they are slightly different on this drawing. The inset appears to me to be further apart and have trees.
Yes, that's better, yes.
Actually, can we therefore go to the plans, see what the planning application says, which should be what hopefully is what's built. And that the application, ignore application forms, they never say anything useful. This would be the slightly proposed. That's a good question. Where is it? It is the.
What's under proposed section?
That's a cut that should be cutting through it. It's a vertical.
Attention.
Yeah, you might have to start closing down some tabs. The laptop goes kaput.
We had this come up before, we were concerned with regards to the car parking as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So they are providing 19 blue badge parking spaces. So the land, if you're standing in the car park looking at Frank Hutchins Hall, immediately to the right, that will all be parking there.
But only for blue badges.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As long as you need a hydrotherapy pool, doesn't mean to say that you're going
no. And there are electric charging points there, I think. I didn't think they were all blue badge spaces, but this definitely says that they are blue badge, all blue badge.
Any disabled people not allowed to use the hydrotherapy?
Absolutely not. Okay.
to be a whole lot of, actually a whole lot of empty spaces.
Existing site plan should be, and it's proposing both going for site plan.
Thinking to how many vehicles there were and how difficult
So down, let's move further down.
became.
Our proposed site plan,
Yeah.
top one at the bottom.
Yes, there wasn't enough room for parking. At the bank benches.
I mean, I know there's a lot of people attended that, but there's a lot of other areas around that use that car
Right.
as well.
Is that,
The
Yeah.
shop.
Further apart,
yeah,
I'm content with that, as I say.
yeah, not convinced about the trees between the two.
Oh, so it was good.
I think there's currently a hedge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, that yeah, a detail, but that's probably not part of the planning application unless there's a ecological statement. That may be why it's there, of course. They may have to demonstrate biodiversity net gain. And that drawing does not specify the parking spaces, it says that says 18 in fact, and it doesn't specify that they are, in fact, that shows you how many are disabled ones, so you've got half and half roughly.
In their brochure, it says 19 blue badge spaces.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the planning application, the plan, which says half of them are blue badge and half of them are not, so
I withdraw my comment.
yeah, so the point is that the comment was on the incorrect drawing. Yes. So, as far as this plan goes, are people content with this application? I propose that we make no objection. In fact, as a question, given the nature of this, we have a sort of a general principle that we only support applications if they provide a public benefit. Otherwise, we just say no objection. Does this provide a public benefit that we wish to actively support, or should we not do so because it's a town council related thing? Would we be content to support it?
Well, as I say, I'm slightly concerned with regards to the parking, in as much as there will be people who still using Frank Hutchins.
So what I was going to say, the plan here, you mean in terms of disabled spaces?
In terms of parking in general, you've just said that this is likely to be used quite widely from people throughout Berkshire. There's only one way they're getting here, and they're going to be needing to park. If Frank Hutchins Hall is already in use on a particular day, that can take up quite a lot of the parking as it is, without bearing in mind there's shops there, there's a pub. I don't think they have enough park. They've got a gym and a pool.
And the existing, are they retaining the existing room?
No.
Okay.
No, but I mean its use at the moment doesn't cause a parking problem, and I believe they will only able to have a maximum of 12 people in the pool at any one time for an hour for sessions.
And power assisted exercise.
That's there already. It's just in Hall 2 at Frank Hutch. Frank Hutch Hall. So that bit's just relocating, and the addition is the hall, the pool. Sorry.
Right.
But if you have 12 clients for an hour, that means 24 parking spaces on the crossover time.
Yeah.
So.
I have visited this place myself, and I do think if it does get approved, it would be a massive benefit to the residents. And I have seen the handy bus does come and drop off. Though I know people do drive, but there are other forms of transport that people get to get there too.
Right. So what I would suggest that we do is that we support the application at the moment, but we contact the hydrotherapy centre separately to inquire about the provision of parking spaces. Can I see, can we go back to the list of documents just in case there's something there that we missed, which nothing there. Let's try the transport statement.
So this says on here, hourly booking system, exercise therapy, 12 clients on the hour every hour. Pool bookings, 12 clients on the hour every hour.
Yeah.
10 minutes to change and shower, 30 minutes in the pool, 20 minutes. Plus opportunity for local groups to book the pool for out of hours. Monday to Friday, early evening, Saturday afternoon, Saturday. There's a lot of people in the pool in the pictures.
If you're going to table doc,
We'd get that bit.
but they're just sort of the table contents, see what it's dealing with. Transport policy, travel patterns on page, existing travel patterns on page 7 might be really.
Staff as well. As well.
Right.
Yes.
How many staff members? Maybe. 1, 2, 3.
Right, so they're saying about half of them arrive by community minibuses on that. It's just existing passengers, existing new customers or clients. So I would propose therefore that we support the application, but we ask the clerk to contact the hydrotherapy centre to confirm that they are content with that parking space. That parking provision is adequate for both clients and staff, of course.
Yeah.
More staff.
Well, these days are there all day.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at this.
So I propose that we support it with but we'll make that caveat privately. Do I have a seconder for that? I think Councillor Pemberton was itching it. Those in favour of so doing? Thank you. That is we then move on to the third one, which is another case of chapter 4. So for those who aren't familiar, the planning application is called 12 to 16 Chapel Street because that was the 3 houses that were present at the time of the initial application. It is now 12 to 14 Chapel Street because number 16 has been demolished to provide access to the rear for the development. So this is seeking to change the semi-detached dwellings 2 by 2 bedrooms to 2 by 3 bedrooms. Why does it always go up? I've never seen an application where it yeah.
Go down.
So this would be that is a block of flats, isn't it? I think. Oh no, that's Chapel Street. Is that Chapel Street? Is that?
Chapel Street.
Right. Okay. So
It's flat 1, flat 2 and flat 3. The block's in the middle.
yeah, but it's proposing to change because it's got both flats and houses, and I think we need to look at the houses, not the flats. If we can go back to the list of documents. So scroll down, we'll have a look at.
Well, that's not the right documents. Sorry.
Just taking a minute, did we know the neutral public comment to consultants?
Constantly comments is generally council officers or external, so I wouldn't worry about that. Neutral means that someone's commented but hasn't actually objected to it.
There are actually more comments, public comments about the loss of open space.
Okay.
We'd like to go back to that.
Do we want? Are we concerned about a lot of? Again, that's already been considered by the council. So, are we concerned? But we weren't concerned by the loss of open space at the time. I think we've already voted on that, unless people are concerned about the loss of open space. So let's have a look at this one. It is the amended. I assume it's actually, if you go up to the top, because it's saying it's going from 2 to 3 rooms, I guess it must be the first floor that's being changed. So if we can go to that very top one.
So that's there. That's I believe that's the other document I had opened. Yeah, opened.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where does it say it's changing from a 2 by 2 to a 2
So
by 3?
that's
Is that
on
their application?
So this is the document here. So it's the proposal, partial demolition of existing dwellings, which you know, and construction of 9. This was the original thing. So 9 one-bedroom apartments and 2 two-bedroom houses.
Yeah. What's
So this,
semi-detached dwellings and two?
it's clarified in the planning statement what the S73A proposes. The amendments to the approved plan seek to change the semi-detached dwellings 2 by 2 bedrooms to 2 by 3 bedrooms. Condition 8 is proposed to be removed. Details have been submitted for conditions 6, 7, 10 and 11, and the description of development has been updated to reflect this.
No plans.
Can I suggest that I'm pretty sure certain the last time we considered this, we objected on the grounds of overdevelopment. So can I suggest that we object on the grounds of further overdevelopment?
Is condition 8 legally relevant, you know?
To the question. That will be in the
Tree protection order, I believe.
tree protection.
They want to.
Well, if it says it was that's an interesting question, because if it was, if it's a condition that wasn't applied by the inspector on appeal, then it should be pretty well justified, because the inspector wouldn't have agreed to a condition if it hadn't been justified.
So we can object to not removing condition 8.
Yeah, so we object. We propose. Proposal is that we object to this amended application, or whatever. It's a new application, isn't it? On the grounds of further overdevelopment.
Yeah.
And the removal of condition 8.
Yeah.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Watt, those in favour of so objecting, thank you. That is unanimous. So we move on to the applications that we would not normally consider. I had intended to raise concerns about the application for the Grange School and the lighting. There are 2 objections. This is the retrospective application for exterior lighting, and there are 2 objections from neighbouring properties on the basis of the lighting being obtrusive. There is a council policy that says that if there is exterior lighting, there has to be an assessment of it, which hasn't taken place. However, the application has been approved, therefore it's too late. Because it was actually an application for listed building consent, which wouldn't normally consider it. I think it still falls within the scope of that policy, but it wouldn't normally be considered. Anyway, that is too late.
Yeah.
So we will pass over that one. The second one that I was planning to draw your attention to is 2 Coombe Barnes.
Yeah, where is that?
So that is the house which is on the northern side of the development, just east of the water tank. I think it's the first. You got the track beside the water tank, and it's the first one.
Oh, that one.
Right.
It's
I think it's the former mink farm, if you know that.
Yeah, well,
So this is a retrospective application for an existing outbuilding, which is an extremely large garage, a shed for the size of the property, to be used as a dog grooming business. The point here is that the access to this is over an unmade track crossing the common, which is a site of special scientific interest. So the question I have is, do we have the one public objection is clearly well written by someone who's familiar with planning policy and common law and commons law, various things. It's a very detailed objection. I have to, for the avoidance of doubt, I had no hand in writing it. So the point is that it makes a number of points, and the one I think is most material from our perspective is the fact that it's crossing it uses an unmade access track that crosses the site of special scientific interest. It's a relatively small scale business. I think they were talking about 3 or 4 dogs a day to be groomed 1 person. The property itself is just to the north of the common, so it's not actually the property that's on the common. So I wouldn't worry too much about looking at it, because that is the point I want to raise. It's not the property itself or the development. It's the fact that it's affecting the common potentially and the site of special scientific interest.
We okayed having a tunnel for the apples to go through. We can't have people doing this.
Right, are people sufficiently concerned about this to object to it? I don't see a great deal of concern.
But I suppose if it's not that many people.
Yeah, it's about it's probably the objector was concerned about it, but it's probably not out of keeping with what might happen from a residential use of the property. So I see no one wishing to propose that. So I will propose from the floor we make no objection to that application. Thank you. And a seconder for that. Thank you, Councillor Lunn, and those in favour also making no objection. Thank you. And if nobody has any concerns about the other ones, we will just note that they are that we haven't considered them, which would be normally the case.
Somebody's bought some land opposite the football club.
Okay.
Amenities, but it's not on.
So we then get moving on to decision notices.
Oh, that's fine.
Here we go. So we have 19 Greymore Close, which is the single-storey rear extension, part 2-storey side extension with block paver parking. This was not considered by Thatcham Town Council and was granted by the Berkshire Council. Of the Colesrock Lane Unit 10 is temporary planning permission for the erection of a canopy structure for 5 years. No objections from TTC and granted by the Berkshire Council. 33 Scrivens Mead, erection of a single-storey extension on side elevation, not considered by Thatcham Town Council and granted by West Berkshire Council. The Traveller's Friend Crookham, which was
What are they doing now?
the application for approval of details reserved. It sounds like a ongoing
Demolition. I know it's ongoing.
demolition
They've
of
not
existing
done.
pub and reconstruction of 18 new flats. It was not considered by Thatcham Town Council and has been approved. 81 Northfield Road is the erection of a single-storey extension to the rear elevation, was not considered and has been granted. Number 2, the Laurels, conversion of existing integral garage into a private beauty treatment room, was not considered and has been granted. 7 Bruce Way was the erection of a single-storey side extension, was not considered and has been granted. 31 Painsdown Road is a single-storey extensions and alterations, was not considered and have been granted. 89 Bath Road is 2-storey side extension and single-storey rear extension with internal alterations after part demolition, was not considered and has been granted. 17 Speedwell Way, proposed single-storey rear extension following demolition of the conservatory, conversion of garage and associated alterations, was not considered and has been granted. 3 Padley Place, proposed single-storey rear extension, installation of roof lights and associated alteration, was not considered and is lawful. 20 Roman Way, 2-storey side extension, single-storey rear extension, front porch addition, Velux addition and general remodel, was not considered and has been granted. 6 Beverley Close, application to determine if prior approval is required for proposed extension. It was not considered and it was not required. Might have anything.
And I can inform you that it's after this update of this document, but the application, I've received a personal notification from the council that the application for the HMO on Roman Way has been refused. So we then move on to planning matters arising since the publication of the agenda.
So we have the proposal, the siting of porta cabins as an interim childcare facility for a maximum of 3 years by Tigers Daycare, following the fire. That is for consideration next meeting. However, the consultation request is the 22nd of May.
They're already in.
And they're already there.
Yes, they're already using them and open.
And I just want to take my hat off to them.
Mm.
I think they've been absolutely marvellous in getting back up to speed.
Okay, thank you. So if we move, that's it, that, we have other more.
No, that's everything.
Thank you. So move on to North East Thatcham. So committed to collecting comments on the development of the master plan for North East Thatcham site. Some of you, I'm sure, went to either the stakeholder meeting, one of the stakeholder meetings, or the drop-in session, and we have been invited to submit initial comments by the 14th of May.
Oh.
There is an online form for that purpose for members of the public, which asks a number of fairly elementary questions. The stakeholder meeting asks a more detailed question, but didn't cover the whole scope of the local plan. So I circulated a document yesterday, which I used largely to me to work out how to respond, where I took the structure of the local plan and the points within it, the key points within it, and mapped the questions from those two onto it, so I could see both what is the entire scope of the local plan that we need to consider, and what were the questions that were being focused on. So I've written this document based on the structure of the local plan, because that is what the master plan should be following. So this, I apologise that it only got sent today. It's, as you can see, it's quite a lengthy document. My suggestion about how we treat it is that I think it had already been felt that this is a matter of strictly important that it should be considered by the full council. So we were proposing to forward it on to them anyway. What I would suggest is, given that you've only just seen it, that I'll introduce it and you can ask questions, but we will note it and forward it to the council, for the full council for approval. And I would further recommend that we allow the option for further refinement before full council, once people had a chance to read it. So if I go through quickly what this is, so I've followed the headings, by and large followed the headings in the policy SB14 from the local plan. I've added a few extra, particularly on the early ones on the role of town council. And the text in italics is taken from the local plan itself. Okay. In some cases, I've edited it to remove cross-references to other policies, remove references to the SPD, which will no longer happen. So it's a clear statement of the policy, but tidied up. I haven't changed anything there. Obviously, I've taken what I think are the most important parts of those of the plan, and in a couple of cases where I think it's important, I've quoted from the supporting text of the policy as well. So we start the role of the town council. The wording of the local plan says that the master plan be prepared in collaboration with the town council and other stakeholders, and I'm emphasising that collaboration is an active and ongoing process, and not just a stakeholder meeting followed by a consultation on the final document. So we need to follow that one through to make sure that actually happens. Of course, the people that we've met so far are largely a community engagement company, not the actual consultants developing the plan itself. So we need to get to them directly. And I've tried to be as positive as possible about our future engagement. There's no point in complaining about things that can't be changed now, while pointing out that, of course, the time scale to produce this has been very short. Moving on, section 2, the high-level requirements for the development. Those tab paragraphs are taken from various places in the local plan policy. I think basically what it says is what we support, and we just want to make sure that what is proposed is delivered. And I emphasise the words crucial and timely and coordinated, which again are words that can be conveniently diluted later on. So on the landscape, there's a rather policy reference. The policy says that it should be based on a previous document that was submitted as evidence, and we have already commented that we were concerned about that because the the introduction to that document, effectively, the consultants who wrote it said they'd been constrained from doing doing their job properly by the brief that they were given. In summary, and therefore I'm drawing attention to that, which we have previously raised with the inspector, and indeed with Regulation 19. So, but those, but there'll be a further study which will basically, the key point here is that will define largely the upper boundary of the development, and above that is the country park. I was reasonably reassured by private conversations I had with council staff, West Berkshire council staff, about who will be doing that, and I'm reasonably confident that that will be done properly and objectively. Yeah, and I actually refer to the supporting text of the local plan describes how the boundary is defined. On the map, it's just a curve and two curves in a straight line. But the supporting text does describe the contours that it follows, and that was based on the evidence that was provided, and other evidence from other pre-planning applications has come for a lower elevation. So I'm suggesting that if the elevation is changed, it should be downwards rather than upwards. And at this point, I need to declare an interest as a member of the Council of Partners of the North Wessex Downs National Landscape, and I will give you that afterwards. But I think that is relevant to the site being in this setting of the National Landscape. So the policy refers to green infrastructure, separately to green infrastructure, which is largely within the developed area, and the country park as a separate thing. I refer here to a policy which I came across from Hampshire County Council. They have a document on design of development for dog walkers, which is actually very helpful, and I refer to that. It talks about how you facilitate dog walking. It's got some very interesting points, both about individual houses, but the layout as well. So I refer to that. Perhaps we're getting the important points on homes. The policy says that at least 40% of the dwellings will be affordable housing. And I provide what I believe to be our local understanding of the situation, that there is a shortage of affordable housing, particularly for social rent, and therefore suggest further to the policy that a significant or substantial proportion of the 40% should be for social rent.
Yeah.
That is a figure which customarily is that developers tend to reduce during the planning process on the basis of viability analysis. So I thought that was worth emphasising. And also that they should be first time buyers, because the majority of the houses that we see are family houses, but well established, possibly second time owners, or in Newbury a large number of flat conversions from offices. So there's that gap in the middle that we want to see filled. Local centres, the local plan says that there should be a number of local centres, and if you look at the map, it's obvious that the site effectively divides into three portions, which would mean three communities, three local centres. And I think it's the list here of things that are possible things to be included in local centres are combined from the two sets of questions, and I've addressed those later on in the document. In most cases. So one key point here is that the provision of secondary education. I'll come back to that secondary education. Since moving on briefly, primary healthcare. It's matter of public knowledge that the Birdwood Surgery has expressed an interest in relocating to the site, the development. Sorry?
Are they not going to do anything where they are now? They're just going to go.
I think they would relocate in their entirety.
So they're going to lose everything.
The problem is that they can't adequately support their existing patient base on the site. So the point there is that one of the challenges was that the surgery that was originally proposed for the site, in order to support the residents of that site, was too small to be viable according to government department guidance. So they had to find another solution. The Birdwood surgery is very compressed in its location, can't expand, can't even provide all of its services on site, I believe. So they've expressed an interest in relocating, which we support, but of course that is subject to them agreeing to do so. And there's a question of timing as well. As far as transport concerned, I'll come back to how you help people who live close to the existing location.
Yeah, rural people. We know that.
So the third surgery that sort of covers this area is Chapel Row, which would be extremely inconvenient for most people living on that site. They'd have to go get steps around, and there's certainly no public transport. So and I also point out that it's not mentioned in the policy, and it wasn't mentioned in the examination sessions either. But primary healthcare, which is what's referenced in the policy, includes dentistry, pharmacy, and opticians. So I've taken the opportunity to apply that interpretation to what we say. Moving on, early years provision school and primary school provision. A couple of detail points there, but the primary schools are intended to serve the residents of the development. There might be a slight shifting of catchment areas over time, but basically they are designed to serve the settlement, and therefore I think that's not a high priority for us, because that will be a matter for the internal layout of the settlement. The secondary school is a different matter, but this is complicated because the development will not support the number of pupils for a new secondary school. Therefore we have to find that another solution has to be found. And despite the fact that the council can't actually say this openly, there are only two solutions which are viable, which is either to build a sixth form campus for Kennett School or to relocate the entire school. It was suggested to me in one of the stakeholder sessions that the council cannot ask for more land. The policy asks for land for the school to be built. The policy, West Berkshire Council said that they couldn't ask for more land than would be necessary for the minimum viable school, because that's still more pupils than the site would generate. And that would make it very difficult for Kennett School to relocate. So what I suggest here is that some of the public playing fields are located adjacent to the site reserved for the school, because if the school relocated, that would free its playing fields for public use. So there could be a swap of the playing fields from what's envisaged for the site to the existing site of Kennett School, which would free enough land for them to build a school which would accommodate enough land to build a complete school, the whole new school, should the funding arise, and that's a big if, or a big should. But the intention there is to leave that, is not to foreclose that option through the layout of the site. There will be a study commissioned by the council, paid for by the developers, which will look at the exact demand for secondary education. One key point that needs to be considered is that the school numbers in Thatcham are reducing because the existing population is ageing largely. And the new development will have a younger population, and therefore the younger demographic, which will have more school-aged children per household than the existing population of Thatcham.
And that's not just for Thatcham. I mean,
so the point about that is not just Thatcham. In other words, as you say, that is a general thing, which means there will be statistics that can be used and should be used to calculate the number of pupils. We just need to make sure that the study does that. So there's quite a lengthy discussion about that. One thing I suggest is that the school might be a suitable location for a performance space shared with the community. And I'm suggesting that a suitable model, if you think about the locality, is Arlington Arts, Maryhair School, which is a similar case which is a performance space on a school premises, which is fairly widely used for public and community events. Whereas the hall in Kennet School is very heavily used by the school and is not widely available. So that is an idea that I put into the mix. Obviously, this is the master plan. We can discuss this more in detail, but it's easier to put something in and take it out than to overlook it. Okay, community inborn facilities. This is significant because this is one area where I suggest that something that is in the master plan or in the local plan might not be needed, which is more community halls. We're fairly well provided with those. We'll of course get another room at the Frank Hutchins Centre if the hydrotherapy centre goes ahead, and therefore that provision of community halls is better focused on something with a more specific purpose. For example, a day centre or halls for specific youth groups such as Scouts and Guides, rather than a hall for hire by the hour. They also mention libraries and indoor sports facilities, and I suggest that both of those would be better served by improving the existing provision rather than trying to build a separate one on the development, which in the case of the library would not be viable. And that will be done through section 106 probably. Again, if you get in early, then these things can tend to get built into the plan. It's difficult to add them in later. The country park, that's the upper part of the site, and the purpose here is try to sort of cement the existing area of the country park. One point is that there is, if you look at the map, there is a tongue of ancient woodland that sort of divides the country park into two, the eastern part, and there's also a division by Hartshill Road. That tongue, it would be very useful if the two parts could be connected together. There is already an avenue through that country park because there's a gas pipeline which has to be kept clear of trees. And I suggest, or hopefully we suggest, that should be used as a route to connect the two parts of the park together. And I believe already that the developers are looking at that possibility.
So not knocking any more trees down?
No, they have to be kept clear of trees to avoid damaging the pipeline.
Yeah.
Good. Active travel, I think those are fairly straightforward points. Public rights of way, I've gone a bit detail on that because there are two additional ones to what you might know, what they would find from maps. There are 4 public rights of way across the site. I think they should be retained, which is in fact policy. There are 2 additional routes, which is the permissive path that comes down Hartshill Road and the claimed footpath through the plantation with Piggy Wood, which also should be connected into the country park. And neither of those appear on official maps, which is why I've highlighted them in this representation. Sport provision, if you know the site, it's basically up the slope of a hill, and therefore the sports provision will need to be on the flat land adjacent to the A4. I think there could be demand and competing demands for that, so we will need to get in early. And I suggest that the council will need to, West Berkshire Council will need to say what its priorities are for different types of sports provision. I have personal ideas, but based on knowledge about the Hennick Worthy, but I think there needs an overview of what the deficit is, and West Berkshire Council's best position to provide that. I also suggest that briefly that they should leave small area of land for sports facilities that are often provided by commercial players, such as padel courts and bowling greens. That would be a private club. So that in addition to what is the sports pitches for competition use, they should allow something for these other sports which are generally less well provided for. And there will in addition be informal playing pitches, not for competition use, which should be spread around the site so that they're convenient for people to use. Transport.
Yeah.
So the key point here is that, and this is something that we've said twice before as a council in various documentation, it is customary for a development of this site to request public transport to take residents to, particularly to the station in this case. And typically those require massive subsidies by the developers, and they stop as soon as the subsidy stops. But the timing of this development, which means that would be needed around 2035, 2032, 2035, means that by that time autonomous vehicles will be widespread, and they would be smaller, perhaps 4 passengers. And we have suggested already, which I repeat here, that there should be an investigation as to whether that be a feasible solution for transporting to the station down Piper's Way. There is a possibility of also connecting to the Birdwood Centre through a cycle path.
See, I'm not good about.
These are size of a large golf buggy, basically, but a bit more waterproof. So that is something which we have said before. I re-emphasise it here, and I'll be happy to follow that through personally. I have sort of some professional knowledge of it, which would be interesting. I think actually by this timescale, it will be something which will be fairly widespread, but we just need to get in early and make sure that we don't preclude it by decisions that are made in the next year or two. The other key point I would guess is heritage, that within the site, but excluded from it, are Siege Cross Farm and Colthrop Manor, both of which have a listed barn. I have suggested here that there'll be 3 communities, 3 local centres. The developers have suggested, and I suggest that we accept this proposal, that the western one should be served by Bradley Moor Square, rather than trying to build another community centre with shops very close to it. And the other 2, one would be a fairly modest community centre with a convenience store and possibly 1 or 2 other shops for takeaway or whatever. But the majority of the community facilities should be based on one of them rather than divided between the 2, which could include a cafe, the doctor's surgery, dentist and pharmacy possibly. And I suggest that would be best adjacent to Colthrop Manor, because that is actually Colthrop Manor is close to the boundary of the country park. And it would therefore be a setting off point for the country park as well. It would share this. Visitors to the park could share the cafe with the local residents, and that would, I think, create a vibrant community. And there's also the opportunity to integrate a future use of the barn into that. Now, the barn is privately owned, and it's outside the area of the local plan, the local plan area, so it can't be explicitly included in the master plan. But I suggest that it would be worthwhile exploring that if a community use or what use can be used that made of that barn, which has some synergy with the development. As far as I can tell, that barn is still used for agricultural purposes. There's no planning application I can find for a change of use. And Siege Cross is a bit different because the majority of the buildings there, the farm buildings there, have had change of use to light industrial or offices. So that is a very quick overview of what I have suggested here. I hope that finds favour with you. My suggestion is that that a document based on this, this document be carried forward to full council, with the recommendation that this or something like it should be approved, and we have the opportunity to review it before the full council meeting to further refine that, or if people have concerns about any of the proposals, to amend it, so that you don't have time to read it at more than a few hours' notice. And great apologies for that again. But that is my suggestion. So this is intended to be a fairly comprehensive set of comments on most of the aspects of the local plan. At the end of the document, I list things that are probably outside the scope of the master plan, but in which we still have an interest. because I think those things are things that will be considered at the planning application stage. But the intention is to actually try to positively influence the development for the benefit both of the existing residents of Thatcham and the new residents, and to play a constructive part in the development of the master plan, rather than complaining about the bits that we don't like. So thank you very much for that long introduction. Hopefully that helps you to understand where I was coming from when I wrote it. Are there any brief questions, comments, concerns?
I applaud that document. There's a lot of work in there, and I'm not going to give you the details. And I think I'm answering my own question where you say that the master plan is really to do with SB14. Means we can only really talk about the development. And it doesn't. The concern leading up to is how the existing Thatcham is going to integrate with the new development. But if we're restricted to sort of focusing on the new development, as you have stated, we've sort of missed the trick about how is the new development reflect the existing Thatcham. That's a general thought, not deep.
So there are in principle, the master plan should address both. However, a number of the things of the concerns of residents have effectively been put to bed by the inspector in terms of the policy and the decisions that he made in his report. So, for example, as far as traffic goes, the inspector accepted, I believe, that the development would not cause disruption to the extent that would cause the development to be unacceptable, which is quite a high threshold. I think the wording is serious disruption in the planning policy. There will be another traffic study undertaken, which will revisit that. Talking about things like the autonomous vehicles is a way to integrate. There's the question about the rights of way also, which integrate, and of course Bradley Moor Square. But
that sort of is leading on to the second part. It wasn't negative necessarily. How they can positively integrate the new development like Thatcham, and whether it's autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, hovercraft.
I have a different so So
as long as we get them to establish a route from the development to the station, town centre, regardless of the actual mode of transport, if there are routes of travel from, so like rights of way, but green.
So I was focusing on the things which were slightly unusual in my presentation, and things that go beyond what is already defined in the plan. So the local plan already says that there will be active travel routes to the station and the town centre. And I therefore didn't feel the need to. It is mentioned in the document. I didn't feel the need to emphasise it in the presentation. There may be other things. That is a point actually, because I was focusing on the local plan, the wording of the local plan. I perhaps didn't pay enough attention to that aspect of it, and perhaps that's something that we could add to a new section that we could add to the document at the start to talk about the integration of the development with the town, going beyond the individual points in the local plan. So I'd be happy to talk with you offline about that and possibly add a section to the document for the approval by the full council meeting. That's a very, very helpful comment. Thank you. I suppose one other comment which came up, which I also forgot. I can't remember who said it to me. Is that it's important that the local centre does not undermine the viability of the town centre. So if we're assuming that it'll have a convenience store, it will have possibly the surgery and other things. We need to make sure it doesn't draw too many customers away from the town centre for other things, and therefore it shouldn't be over large. It should be dedicated shops or local shops, and not a second centre for Thatcham as a whole. That's something we also need to emphasise in the document, which is not there at the moment. Anyway, further suggestion on that nature. would be very helpful. I think the more that we can say at this stage, the more we can influence the master plan. The more we influence the master plan, the more we can influence the development. Which is not for a long time, because the local plan says that the first completions will be effectively the beginning of 2031, and which means possibly that construction will need to start in 2028, because the road that network will need to be built first. Perhaps the other thing that I actually haven't given sufficient emphasis to is that the facilities that are for the benefit of Thatcham as a whole, like the surgery potentially, need to be built early, ahead of the demand that is generated just by the site itself. Obviously, the school is a bit of a special case, because the land is being provided for the local authority to build the school. So the timing there is effectively in the control of the local authority, not the developers. Okay, thank you very much for those helpful comments, and we will work offline to refine and enhance this document for council meeting. And just a reminder there that this full council meeting is going to be a very full day, a very full evening, because it's got all of the annual business of the annual meeting. Yeah. So hopefully we can resolve the comments in advance of the meeting rather than at it. Thank you very much. So do we have is that the final item of business? Oh, we still have traffic management and highways and road safety matters.
Yes, we have two things to just draw your attention to this evening. So one is the essential carriageway surfacing in Moors, happening from the 20th up to the 22nd of May between 9:30 and 3 p.m. each day. That's been quite a significant closure. So just for your information. The second item, which I sent around information about today, which is the offer of bus shelter funding from West Berkshire Council. This is really to draw your attention to this. If you want to think of any sites to propose, please do send those through to me. I've got a small extension from West Berkshire Council to be able to submit our proposals and hopefully get some more bus shelters. So we will discuss any more suggestions at the next planning and highways.
How long is that extension?
1 week.
And 1 week from?
So it was the 22nd of May was when we were supposed to, no, the 29th of May that we were meant to submit all of our suggestions, but because our next planning and highways meeting isn't until the 2nd of June, I have an extension.
Okay.
Because they only gave 4 weeks, which didn't match up with our meetings. So.
Okay. So thank you very much. That completes the business of the meeting. So I will then close the meeting at 12 minutes past 8. Thank you very much.
Actually, Simon, that document is amazing. I need to read it about 10 times.
Yeah.
You know,